Angela to talk to us about the work going on at Fuji.
Okay, thank you, Brendan, for the organising committee for this. I'm going to take the opportunity to give a presentation on actually how we're trying to innovate and advance the way we're manufacturing some of the traditional therapeutics that Brendan talked about today. So my name is Jonathan Haigh. I'm head of the UK sites for FUJIFILM Diosynth Biotechnologies based in Billingham, Darlington and Wilton in the north east of the UK. And the title of the talk is Advancing Biomanufacturing in the UK, specifically continuous manufacturing and process intensification for traditional biotherapeutics. I'll just take a very brief minute to give introductions to FUJIFILM for people who don't know. We're a contract development and manufacturing organisation servicing across the globe in cell therapies, advanced gene therapies, but then some of the more traditional biologics as well. About 4,200 employees and based around 10 sites globally. We service everything from the very early phase, cell line development, the early molecular biology, all the way through to commercial manufacturing. Again, we won't go through all of these slides, but one of the things that we're really interested in is looking at how we can advance the way we're manufacturing these medicines, whether it's driving down the cost of goods, whether it's giving decision making later on in the process for when you need to scale up, or scale out, or through continuous manufacturing. And it may give a slightly different approach, a different perspective of how we can make some of these traditional medicines. As I said, we're based globally. The technology that I'm going to be talking about today was developed in the UK, in the UK sites, and it's where we're going to be deploying in the GMP environment for the very first time, although we have aspirations of deploying this in some of our global sites. And as I said, as a CDMO, we offer end-to-end services. As a client joins at the beginning of their journey, we want to have the right services in the right locations at the right time, and the right advice to help facilitate that client taking their molecule through. And we know that's very challenging. We know those attrition rates are still very high. 90% of those molecules entering the left-hand side of the screen won't make it to the far right-hand side of commercial manufacture. But we have the experience, we have the capabilities and the expertise to try and increase the chances of that all the way through. So what I need for innovation in the bioprocessing industry, and I took this slide really just to give an example of, although there is a lot of focus and there's a lot of attention on the advanced therapies, as we talked about a little bit this morning, I think Steve actually made a really good point in the question time panel around there's still a real need for these more traditional biologics at a large scale or at large quantities. And you can see from the graphs here, there's still huge growth in these sort of more traditional technologies and these more traditional medicines. But although we're seeing growth in these traditional technologies, we're still seeing complex elements that are being brought about so they become more efficacious, they become more safe, they become maybe more manufacturable, maybe more stable, which can help with the sort of distribution, the cold chain distribution. So we're seeing complexity, and I guess things like bispecifics, trispecifics are a good example of where those more traditional monoclonal antibodies are sort of advancing in the way. We'll hear talk a bit later today about how we can advance those further through conjugation, and I think Dave's going to talk a little bit about that. But we're seeing an interest and an increase in product quality, and not just in the product quantities. So whether that's through the need for biosimilars that need to be developed and landed at a specific quality attribute that's close to the originator. But we're also seeing some of the more complex IgG molecules that were perhaps not as favourable and selected for sort of therapeutic application because they were difficult to work with, difficult to express, the titers weren't as high, the stability wasn't as high. Through sort of advances in that sort of cell line development capability, we're starting to see some more of those modalities coming through. And we're even seeing now glycosylated mAbs, so coming through the traditional route, but actually through a yeast system, so you can start to get mAbs not just coming through the mammalian capabilities, but also the microbial capabilities. And we've got quite a lot of experience in the UK site, up to 5,000 litre stainless steel in those glycosylated antibodies. So when we think about how we offer capabilities and services to supply the market, we think in these sort of three buckets really. So there's that traditional ability to scale up. You need less material earlier on in the clinical journey, and at some stage you transfer to a larger facility, or a larger asset, and eventually you get to something around the 20,000 litre stainless steel capability for the monoclonal antibodies. And that's still a very well-trusted and well-defined route. It really is still applicable for a lot of the medicines coming through the market today. But we also see the ability to scale out. So instead of sort of transferring to a larger facility, maybe you say within that same facility you just run more of those batches, and that really sort of lends itself to the single-use technologies, whether that's the 2,000 litre that we've been using for a long time now in the UK, but actually the sort of larger scale, whether that's 5,000 litre, 6,000 litre single-use bioreactors that we're starting to see deployed. But the focus here I really want to base on is how we can really be innovative to advance that manufacturing, and that's through continuous manufacturing. And I took the opportunity at the conference last year just to give a bit of an introduction to this theme, and to show, based on some proof of concept data, we wanted to drive investment in the UK biomanufacturing facilities to bring these services online. And it's a privilege to confirm here today that we're continuing with those investments. They've been built and they'll be coming online as per the conversations last year. So, to move from fed batch to continuous, we recognise that there's a toolbox required there. I'm not going to go through all of these elements in a huge amount of detail. I want to jump to a proof of concept case study that we've ran at scale up in the northeast of England to show that we can get equivalent product quality with much smaller manufacturing footprint than some of these advanced manufacturers.